All right, and we're live. All right, lift up your hands in praise. We are privileged today. We've got him for about a half an hour. We got the legendary JJ French from the legendary Twisted Sister. By the way, really quick. Yeah, there you go. I'm Jack Mangan. I got the ACDC shirt. You know me from Metal Asylum, Metal Hall of Fame, and the Am I Evil graphic novel. But yeah, my buddy there showing off the Twisted Sister CDs and the Striker shirt.
Yep. Rich Catino from the Metal Hall and Brave Words Magazine and Metal Asylum also. And welcome, JJ. Great to have you. Long time. Both of us are longtime fans, so great speaking to you.
Thank you. I guess legendary means I'm old, right? Is that what that means? They're legendary. They've been around so long that unfortunately, you've had to hear them for years and years and years and years and years.
You were legendary in the 70s, man.
Thank you. Thank you. I like that. I like that thinking.
Well, yeah, we're gonna flood you with questions, so I hope you're ready. Our time is limited. But yeah, I mean, well, let's get right into it. Let's get right into the book. Okay. A fantastic book, fascinating book, great stories, great companion to the Netflix documentary. So tell your fans and people who are like, I hate Twisted Sister, tell them why they should read your book and what's great about it.
Well, I think it's different from what people expected. You know, I mean, before I say that, was it different than you expected?
Let's definitely. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So what made it different from what you expected?
I was expecting a lot more of I've seen the documentary, the We Are Twisted Fucking Sister. I've seen that, and I was expecting more of the same, more of those kind of stories. And I was not expecting. There was so many great stories. Your twisted business perspective, and plus I learned a lot about you that I didn't know from before, like your days in the '60s, and with Kiss. I mean, I don't want to give spoilers away, but when you're almost in Kiss, that kind of stuff, like that was fascinating. So the business details and your personal history, those are the two major differences.
So what it was a bizwar. It's a bizwar. I coined the phrase myself. It's a business book and a memoir. It's the first time they've ever been put together, like a rom-com is a romantic comedy, So I kind of came up with this idea of a bizwar and told my publisher, I said, I'm going to give you a marketing tool that has heretofore never been used, and it's going to be a bizwar. So that's number one. Then once we decided that it was going to be a bizwar, the decision had to be made as to how it was going to be constructed, because I didn't want the typical book that was out there that everybody seems to have. The same way the Twisted Sisters documentary, We Are Twisted Fucking Sister, is not the typical documentary. That documentary had nothing to do with We're Not Going to Take It, nothing to do with I Want to Rock. That documentary had everything to do with the struggle to get where it had to go. That's really the story of the band. In fact, when I talk about the band, for the most part, I rarely talk about the MTV years. I mean, to me, they were an afterthought. And while the world thought that was the greatest thing, I was bored to death at that point. So that may be a shocker to people. But the fun or the crazy journey was the journey to get there. And once we got there, it wasn't anything the way I expected it to be. I don't know what I expected it to be, but there were so many reasons why it wasn't what I expected it to be, not the least of which is that the band was sick of the whole scene at that point. So we just wanted to work and get paid. We had no interest in partying. So we never did. We were an antisocial band. When you're antisocial, you're not invited to parties because you make it clear that you're not interested in going to them, or hanging out with musicians because you're not interested in getting fucked up with these musicians, because that's all they do is get high. And they're not interested in discussing politics and current events and all this other shit that, people probably think that we don't discuss anyway. And they also think that somehow you succeed because of a combination of sex, drugs, rock and roll, and fairy dust, and a deal with the devil, and somehow someone sprinkles success on you, and you're anointed this band, which then goes on and pollutes the minds of American youth because we're devil-driven worshipers, and we're just a bunch of guys who have kids on Long Island, who play soccer. So the dichotomy of the band's image, as crazy as the image was balanced by the fact that the band was not crazy at all. That the marketing of the band as crazy was marketed as that, because we realized early on that we weren't all these other things. We never said we were, but the interpretation was you are that, and we were not that. We were already older by 10 years than most of the bands in Southern California, the hair band groups that came in. We were 10 years older than them. We didn't party, so there was nothing to do to hang out with them because it was just be boring. So what I concentrated on in the book was the concept of what a business is like in rock and roll, what you really have to face as a business challenge. And the truth is that the book is about the twisted method of reinvention. And that's really what the book is about. It's taking the letters twisted, TWASTED, and turning it into a learning tool. And that's what I do when I do my motivational speaking engagements. Like I'm here in Austin doing one now. Today, I did one this morning. I'm doing one tonight. I can speak to accounting groups and travel agencies and financial institutions. They hire people like me because rock and roll is a sexy thing to talk about, but they're business rules through the prism of a rock and roll past, which makes it all the more interesting and incredible to the layman.
Yeah. Great answer. That fits. All right, Rich,
Yeah.
you have some questions about the book?
Yeah, but actually, before I get to one of mine, when you do these discussions, do you actually talk about a little bit about Twisted Sister too, or it's just not Twisted Sister at all, and it's more about the business aspect of being in the music business?
No, I take people through a journey. First, I take them through my growing up in New York City, in 1967 and 1972. That is a world that is special. That really was sex, drugs, rock and roll, and craziness. That was nuts. I mean, that was me being a drug dealer and a drug addict, which I never talked about before. So it's not like I came to Twisted Sister as a Boy Scout, although I was a Boy Scout. But that's not what it was about. The point was that I had been through hell and back. I'd been down that road in levels that make all these other bands look stupid. So I'm not going to sit there and go, I got way more fucked up than you. But let me tell you the truth. 1967, 1972, between the ages of 15 and 20 years old, being part of the New York hippie subculture, the Lower East Side subculture, that all led to finally, heroin overdoses, murders, and plus being the house dealer at the Paradiso in 1971 in Amsterdam, which was the #1 drug capital of the world in 1971. What I saw in terms of experience and lived through, not to mention the insane rock and roll history that I have at the Fillmore East. So every weekend I was there. So whether it was Led Zeppelin or Jimi Hendrix or Jeff Beck or Rod Stewart or the Grateful Dead or the Jefferson Airplane or Janis Joplin or Moby Grape or Frank Zappa, you saw them every week for $2 or $3, and if you couldn't afford the $3, you saw them for $1 at Central Park. And that's what we all had for $1. You want to see Jimi Hendrix? $3 in the Fillmore. You can't afford it? Go to Central Park. He's playing this week for $1. Think about that for a second. Think about how crazy that is for a minute, considering how much tickets are today. So you add the drugs, you add the politics of the time, the anti-war activities, the civil rights movement, the assassinations of Martin Luther King, Bobby Kennedy. Add to that all of the rock and roll experiences, seeing the Rolling Stones, in 1969 and 72 when they actually were good, seeing Led Zeppelin in 72 and 68, 69 when they were, or rather 69, 70, 71, 72 when they were actually one of the greatest bands in the world, going to see the Who at the Fillmore 5 days in a row, or I saw Cream and the Who open for Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels. Like, these are experiences that most people will never understand. Because we had that, and because I had that, that all leads up to the creation of Twisted Sister. All of the guys in Twisted were my age, which means they all, to varying degrees, had the same experiences I did. And so, by the way, did all the other bands that came out in 73, which Kiss came out in 73, Judas Priest came out in 73, AC/DC came out in 73, Twisted Sister came out in 73. What do we all have in common? We all of us, Rob Halford and everybody in Priest and the guys in AC/DC, we all had the ability to be imbued with the passion and the inspiration of the greatest rock artists in the world weekly, to be able to then regurgitate it out as a musician. So that's what makes the story so unique. And when I'm doing my speaking engagements, yes, I take people up to that level. Then they want to know, well, how Twisted Sister made it. Well, you can't tell the story about Twisted Sister without telling the story of all of the ups and downs and the reinvention that the band went through, because the band was turned down more times than a bedsheet in a whorehouse and came back more times than Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees. So this is what it's about. It's the ability to come back time after time after time after time after time under incredible odds that work against you every time. So that's what makes it a unique story.
Yeah. Well, all right, you set me up perfectly, because I got to bring up, when I was reading the book, I was getting mad on your behalf when the story about the record exec who basically said, no, I will never promote this band, and eventually had to, because you guys were just working so hard. And so talk to us a little bit about that experience. I mean, the catharsis or whatever from coming through that.
Well, nothing ever came easy to the band. And that was another example of something that didn't come easy. When we finally got a record deal in England, the American president didn't like the band and had gone on record by saying, the next person who mentions the name Twisted Sister will be fired. It just so happened the next person who mentioned the name Twisted Sister was a British president of the label who he could not dismiss. He couldn't say no. The guy had every right to sign the band, but what he said was, you keep him. I don't want anything to do with him. So we already knew how much we weren't liked. So even though we had, we did Can't Stop Rock and Roll and we had a hit record, I Am I Me became a hit single in Europe. And we were on all these television shows, Top of the Pops, all these German rock pop shows. All of a sudden we were on the same shows as Boy George and Spandau Ballet and all this other stuff. You came back to America and it was crickets. Not only was it crickets, but the record label said that we went over budget by $5,000, $4,500. Now think about this. You hear about bands that go over budget by $250,000, $400,000, $500,000. We went over budget by $4,500, and they said, we're not going to release the record unless you pay us back. Think about that for a moment. That was the ultimate slap in the face. So we worked out a deal where we paid them back, and we proceeded to tour for the next year in rent-a-cars and vans. Both in the US and in Europe. And after a year of just killing ourselves, the record company president grudgingly admitted that we exceeded all of his expectations and that he spent nothing on us, and we had sold 100,000 records. And imagine what would happen if he spent money on us. Oh my God. So this coincided with MTV. So the timing finally was perfect. The timing is so often not perfect for so many bands. The timing became perfect. And what he said was, if you give me the right record, I'll make you one of the biggest bands in the world. And that's what he said to me. However, I'm a New York guy and I'm cynical as hell, and I didn't buy it for a second. I just thought, he's so full of shit. He's hated me for a year. All of a sudden, he's telling me he's going to make us the biggest band in the world. But to his credit, he got Tom Werman to produce the record. Werman, had a huge track record with Ted Nugent, Motley. He was the go-to guy. He was the go-to guy. Whether you like Werman's production sound or you don't like Werman's production sound, he was the go-to guy. He's the hot producer. However, he didn't particularly like We're Not Going to Take It and I Want to Rock, and neither did the record company particularly either. And he pitched us a bunch of Saxon songs, which didn't go down well with D, which led to a terrible relationship that D has with Tom Werman. So that never was reconciled. And there's been a lot of revisionist history as to who said what about who, where, how. Let's just say that that we sacrificed 2 songs to get those songs on the record. We sacrificed Blast and Fast and Loud and Never Say Never. We promised not to do them if he added We're Not Going to Take It and I Want to Rock on the album as some other songs, and he did. And then when the video concept, which D created with Marty Callender, the director, where it was pitched, everybody thought that was the song. And so it happened. And of course it happened. It happened big. It happened, obviously Technicolor big, like insanely big, like how insane. I mean, today We're Not Going to Take It and I Want to Rock are the most licensed songs in the history of heavy metal for TV shows, commercials, soundtracks. That's why you hear them all the time. That's why I got 2 emails yesterday. One from a fan in Ecuador saying a guy running for president of Ecuador is using We're Not Going to Take It. And another one from a guy running for president of Spain who's using We're Not Going to Take It. I'm not going to tell you that how our position is about it politically. That's not the point. The point is it's a worldwide anthem is the point. And it just continues to be a worldwide anthem. It's bigger than any song from the 80s. It's monstrous. And if we have nothing else in our life, we have those two songs. And if D wrote nothing else of consequence, he's written two complete monster songs that represent the 80s.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. Rich, all right, go ahead. I know you have some questions.
Okay. So does any pro footage exist from Come Out and Play or the Love is for Suckers tours? And could it come out if it does exist officially?
No, sadly. Come Out and Play would have been filmed had it lasted longer on the road. We never got a chance to film it. Big mistake, a huge mistake. Also, the release of Leader of the Pack as a single was a huge mistake. If you look back at the mistakes we made, those were mistakes. And
that was a very big production too, right?
It was a huge production. Had we released I think now, in hindsight, if Fire Still Burns was the single,
right,
it would have been much better for the band. But it wasn't, and so we could talk all day about it, and it's not going to change things. You know, there were mistakes, but the Come Out and Play production was phenomenal. It was a great production. In fact, the only other production that comes close is our Christmas production from our Christmas shows. If anyone saw the full production of those at the Vegas show, that was a crazy production. And so we are capable of putting on massive productions. But Come Out and Play's stage set was at the time one of the biggest stage sets ever built. And the video at the time was the most expensive video ever made. And the album was one of the most expensive albums ever recorded at the time. So we certainly spent the money. That's for sure.
Wow. Yeah, and he touches on that, by the way, you guys watching, he touches on that in the book, on the Leader of the Pack, which actually I thought that was fascinating that you I mean, I also appreciated your candor about it, that you said that this was a mistake.
Well, what are you going to do? I mean, you know, it was, and the band's never been shy in saying it was a big mistake. I mean, there was a lot of mistakes made. There was a lot of good decisions made. There was mistakes made. You know, what was the most satisfying thing about our life is that we came back in 2001 for the benefit, and then had an amazing run from 2003 to 2016, where we were the biggest, you know, festival band in the world, and to have that validation, basically, is the reason why you and I are talking. I don't think if the band had never come back, I don't know how much it would matter, but between the band coming back and the songs We're Not Going to Take It, I Want to Rock becoming so much standardized in the minds of people for TV shows and commercials and soundtracks, maybe there wouldn't be any interest. Doesn't mean the story is not as compelling. The story is always compelling, but I think people love, they like good news, you know, and so the band could have ended in an ugly way. And I discussed me and Dee in the book in detail, and how our relationship deteriorated and what we had to do to save it. You know, and I think at the end of the day, it's a very validating story of people who realized what they put in, and they realized that there was something to be saved from it. The Twisted Sister wound up meaning a lot more to people than we ever imagined. We didn't know how much the world cared. We just didn't know. I mean, we were shocked when we played New York Steel, the response around the world. All of a sudden, we're offered headlining positions in countries that we've never been to, let alone not headline. So how much of a shock is that? You know, most American metal bands do not function well in South America and do not function well in Europe. They just are not. Those bills are heavier. There's a lot of death metal, black metal, you know, but we're revered by those bands in a weird way. You know, many of these bands cover songs like Destroyer and Burn in Hell. And so even though we are not of that necessarily, we are validated by Motorhead. We're validated by that. So we are allowed, we'll play with Slayer. We'll play with these bands at these crazy German death metal festivals, and they worship Twisted Sister. Most American bands, you would never see Rat on a bill. You'd never see Warrant or Poison, or you wouldn't even see Motley on some of those bills. You'd see Metallica, but you wouldn't see any of these other bands. So we are fortunate in that we kind of bridged certain genres that kept us credible.
Awesome. All right, we got a question from the crowd out there. Somebody asked if the book is going to be available in audio form.
I am in negotiations right now to do an audio version of the book. I don't know if I'm going to be reading it or not. That's the only question. But we are in negotiations doing an audio form of the book. And it's, of course, available digitally, and it's available on Amazon right now. Of course, you can order it. Everything's available on Amazon, you know. But yeah, hopefully it'll be out digitally soon.
All right, cool.
I mean, orally. Yeah.
All right, yeah, we got a couple minutes left. Rich, why don't you fire away?
Okay, 3 Twisted Sister songs you think that are underappreciated or you wish you played live but never did.
Sure. I think "Don't Let Me Down" is one of Dee's best songs. It's one of my favorite Twisted songs. First of all, we don't play that enough. I think that stuff from Under the Blade, we don't play enough. There's some great. We don't play Tear It Loose. We play sometimes, not enough. Run for Your Life, we don't play. That's a great song. There's a lot of really good stuff. You know, I was reading an interview once with Black Sabbath, and they were talking about the fact that they don't do certain songs. And Geezer said, well, it's because Ozzy doesn't want to sing them. And they said, well, how do you feel about that? And he goes, well, Ozzy wrote it. If he doesn't want to sing it, I can't complain. You know, I mean, he has to deliver the song. You know, he's got to feel it. Well, Dee wrote these songs, you know, so if Dee doesn't want to do a song, I'm hard pressed to tell him he's got to do a song. I mean, he either feels it and can sing it with, you know, with real emotion, or he can't. So it's not for me. But what the funniest thing was that on the last year of the tour in 2016, I looked at Dee once and I said, can we not play Under the Blade one night? Like, can we play that song every single night from the time he wrote it in 1977? He wrote Under the Blade. We've been playing it every single night. Like, there's not a night that goes on, except when we do television shows, we're doing like one song, or, you know, or the Christmas, even on the Christmas song. But I said, and he said to me, but I do that for you. And I said, what are you talking about? He goes, that's your guitar solo thing, man. That's like a spotlight. He goes, that's why it's in there. I said, you do that for me? I said, I'm sick of playing that song. He goes, dude, I've been putting it in there every night because that's your song. I went, yeah. Can we not do it tonight? So one night we did it. We didn't do it one night. You know, that was like, oh my God, we didn't play Under the Blade. You know, but the fact is that when a fan comes to see the band, they expect certain songs always. And when a band says, here's some new stuff from our new album, that just means they're not playing stuff that the public wants to hear. And we decided a long time ago, we want to play exactly what they want to hear. That's one of the reasons why we were so successful. We played exactly what they wanted to hear. You know, here's 17 songs. We're going to play these 17. They should make you very happy. If you want us to replace a couple of them with some new stuff, let's vote. You know what the vote would be? 99-1 not to do it. So when most classic bands come out with a new record, the mistake they make is like, oh, we're going to like promote our new record. No one gives a fuck about your new record. I mean, they really don't. Yeah, they really don't. So what happens is they fool themselves into thinking they do. And the first week they're playing 5 songs. And then the next week they're playing 4 songs. And the next song they're playing 2. And then by the 1 month into the tour, they're playing 1 song from the new record. Why? Because nobody really cares. It doesn't mean the song isn't good. It doesn't mean the band isn't good. It doesn't mean any of that. But the point is you're entertainers. So what's the point? Are you there to entertain or not? Now, there are some people who don't give a shit. You know, Bob Dylan could care less whether you like the way he performs or not. He obviously turns his back against you. He mumbles. You don't even know what the fuck he's singing. And that's what he wants to do. That's his way of doing it. We don't work that way. We really, look, let me put you this clearly. Whether you like Twisted Sister or you don't like Twisted Sister, here's an undeniable fact. We're one of the only handful of bands that a promoter will trust with 100,000 people. Simple as that. As simple as that. We play a ton of those shows. 100,000 people close out these festivals. Not talking about the afternoon when you're playing for the 10,000 or 20,000. We're talking about 100,000. When you are headlining a festival that holds anywhere from 80 to 110,000 people, and you're the headliner, you have to not suck. You have to be great, and you have to make sure you're great, and you have to make sure that everybody who walks out says, that was great, and that was a great festival. That's the responsibility that KISS has, that Judas Priest has, that AC/DC has, that Def Leppard has, that KISS, you know, these are the top echelon bands that are going out there and are told, Iron Maiden, you know, there's only maybe 20 of us that can go out there and can accept the responsibility of delivering happiness to 100,000 people. Well, you have to be really good to do that. And then when you reach and attain that ability to do it, you have to be grateful that you've reached that ability to do it, and you have to deliver it every time. And that's what I'm probably most proud of.
Yeah.
Nice. Jack, one more because I know we're out of time.
Yeah, I know. I have about 400 more questions, so we'll cram them all in the next 3 minutes. No, we got to have you back. Hopefully we can have you back again, JJ.
Yeah.
JJ French from Twisted Sister, everyone. I guess what I do want to, if you could take us out on, tell us what to expect in the years ahead. You still got a lot of fire and life in you, man. What's next? What's next?
Well, in terms of Twisted, I don't know if we'll ever play again. I mean, the big question is, you guys talk. We talk every day. Me, D, Mark, and Eddie. We text every freaking day. All right. So that's no secret. We are always talking because there's always deals. There's always licensing deals with the music. There's an album that's coming out, which is a double vinyl record because vinyl is so cool these days. And it's called Tear It Loose, Best of Live and Studio. It's going to be one of the albums is going to be the best of our biggest hits, like 10 songs on vinyl on one album. And the X is going to be the best of the UK performances live, which is Astoria, Marquee, and Astoria, Marquee, and Hammersmith. And that's coming out in November, the end of November, right? So of course Dee's got a new record out, and Eddie's got his hot sauce, and Mark's got his Area 22 show, and I have my podcast, the JJ French Connection, JayJayFrench, the JJ French Connection on Spotify, Apple. So we're all busy doing things. But in terms of Twisted as a band playing, there has been no talk amongst any of us about that. Doesn't mean it'll never happen. It just means that as of now, I have no secret info on that. But I will say to people, there's a lot of stuff out there that we produce, and hopefully Twisted Business is a book that you will enjoy, and I urge people to get that book. It makes a great Christmas gift. I'll be doing an in-store in New Bedford, Massachusetts on November 5th, an in-store in New York City on November 6th, and an in-store at Looney Tunes in Long Island on November 7th. In West Babylon. So you can get all that information on the Facebook page, on the Twisted Facebook page, on jjfrench.com. You get that information there. There's so many ways to hook us up with Twitter and everything else. I'm sure you'll know. If you're in New Bedford, Massachusetts, and you're in New York City, or if you're in Long Island, November 5th, 6th, and 7th, look for me in person signing the books for you. So hopefully I'll see you guys there.
Excellent.
Well, all right. So one more plug that you should throw out is how if my business or a business wants to hire you to do a speaking engagement.
Sure. So you can email me a request. I will answer these emails directly at AskJJ. That's AskJJ, JayJay, and the letters TS for Twisted Sister. AskJJTS@gmail.com. Contact me, and you can book me for a speaking engagement. And also I'm on Cameo, but everybody's on Cameo. So you can, I mean, there's so many different ways to be connected. And, but I do answer all those emails. And if you'd like me to talk to your company, for sure, that's how you reach me.
Great. Well, thank you so much. It's been a great honor.
It's been great.
Well, talk to Maria if you want to book another session. Let Maria know. All right. We'll do it again. Okay.
All right. Great. Thank you so much. All right.
Good luck with the book.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching.
Yes.